Welcome to We Question and Learn. We're celebrating our 20th year here on the air at WQLN FM 91.3, now known as WQLN NPR. Very privileged to have the program also on about, it's more than a dozen podcast venues, and NPR One as well, and WQLN.org has it on their website. I'm really privileged today to have Julie Slomski, the executive director of one of the most, what I consider, important organizations. I'm allowed to say that. Pennsylvania's only Great Lake port, Port Erie. It's the Erie-Western PA Port Authority as the official name. Do I have that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You got it.
And then I guess your moniker, your brand would be Port Erie, or am I pushing the envelope there?
You got it. Port Erie, Erie Port, combination.
Sounds good. Well, this program travels far afield, and if you could, give us a 10,000-foot view of your organization, how it got started, and basically, what do you do? And I know there's a lot to talk about, but give us the quick elevator speech to get things going here, if you would.
For sure. And Tom, first and foremost, thank you for the opportunity. Really appreciate, I'm a fan of what you do, and really excited to be here. So thank you for that. But yeah, here, as you said, Port Erie, the Erie-Western PA Port Authority. We're lucky that we've been around for a bit, as people say, and had some great leaders here as well to help move the port forward. But as a city authority, as folks call it, or working with, we have 11 board members with 9 members appointed by the mayor, 1 by the governor, and 1 by the Secretary of Transportation. But for us, it was that opportunity when kind of the city said, "Okay, here's this land, do something with it." Way back in the day, and to have that opportunity to kind of create this port as we have it here, from the industrial side right now outside my window with Don John Shipbuilding to Carmeuse Lime and Stone. We're lucky to have them. The Erie Sand and Gravel folks. Do I say who's Carmeuse? Those
I was just going to say I read it and I couldn't pronounce it, so thank you for educating us.
Yeah. People say Carmeuse, is it technically Carmeuse? But you see those big sand dunes. They said, are they those sand dunes? Well, sort of. The aggregate sitting outside our window there. But we have that side of it to our recreational side, from the Lampe district that we have with the Lampe Marina, Lampe Campground. We now have a great fish cleaning station, thanks to the Fish and Boat Commission, and especially the Sons of Lake Erie for advocating, for us to obtain these dollars so that we have Erie, the city's first public fish cleaning station. And kudos to my predecessors that worked on this, Tom, for so long to get it going. But it's amazing to see how busy it is at all hours of the day.
I remember going down there and seeing it quite a few years ago, the first time, all those fishing boats and the vendors and I call them artists, carving the fish and making that available. What a great feature to have. I felt like I was in New England. It really was very warm. Well, being on the Bayfront is wonderful, with the Bayfront Bicentennial Tower looking out over everything. Is that under your jurisdiction? How does that work?
It is.
Okay.
It is. So as we move further in our footprint, from the Bicentennial Tower to, of course, Liberty Park. Those are two of major attractions of ours here within our footprint. As of right now, we're just roughly under 600 acres that we have, all throughout here, the Bayfront, and it's great to have so many great partners that we have here. People say, tenants. Okay, sure, tenants, partners, but to me, we're all focused on the same mission here on the Bayfront, whether it's the industrial side, the tourist side, and with that tourist side also is, with our boaters, and some of our boaters are local that are coming. Some, of course, are traveling here from out of state, and it's really nice.
Oh, how about from Canada?
Yes. We work with Lakeshore Towing that runs our transient marina here, Wolverine Marina and Wolverine Park. And Eric and Teresa are always busy with folks coming from all over, from Canada, all throughout the U.S., bringing their boats here for the weekend or what have you. And it's just a lot going on. And that, for us, is one thing that we're excited about in this summertime. Again, working with the various different marinas and everyone from the boater side of things, make sure everyone's enjoying themselves. But also, getting back to our anglers, and we have folks, families coming out to fish all the time.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
it's really exciting to see. And for us, it's about how do we create that destination and what can we do. And that's why, you know, Tom, we had that master plan back from 2018, and we're now in the process of refreshing that master plan to see, okay, what have we accomplished there, and what do we still need to, you know, really move the needle on and to continue to move this Bayfront forward. So we're really excited. I'm so lucky to have a Deputy Executive Director, Anna Franz, to bring her on board to help us with her insight from the planning perspective as we refresh this master plan.
That's wonderful. Now, also down on the Bayfront, there is, well, redescribe Lampe Marina and the Lampe Campground. How does that fit in your plan?
Yeah. We're real lucky, I mean, especially to have it right here on the east side, right off of Port Access Road, where folks say, what's the easiest way to get to it? Just like take 90 and head to the Bayfront, and you'll be right there. And with that, with our marina, we're in the process of actually replacing our slips. Our board was just awarded a three-part bid. Starting on November 1st, we're going to have all new docks coming in there to be able to have that opportunity. We're known as kind of the working man's marina, and we have not maybe updated it in recent years, and that's what we're looking to do, because there's a lot of families that are coming there, from anglers to families to folks that are just hanging out in the boat after work. And then, of course, right on the side is the campground. Our Lampe campground has just expanded to add additional sites now, right there, pretty much even with South Pier. And our campsites and our marina is open from May 1st to October 31st. And we are quite busy in between that time with folks visiting from all over. I mean, you know, Tom, what was neat from the campground perspective is, you know, we opened up for the eclipse since there was a need for, you know, campsites. And we filled up very quickly. And we're kind of excited to meet a whole new round of folks that maybe haven't been here. They like to follow the eclipse. They're campers that go all around, you know, the world following the eclipse and came here. And that was really cool to meet these folks that, you know, are now came back and even visit us since April.
What
so
a great idea that
was.
Yeah, what a great idea that was. Wonderful. Now let's see. The Land Lighthouse, is that part of your...
Land Lighthouses as well, yeah.
Yeah.
We're lucky to work with the folks, Avery Shaughnessy Comfort and her team that, you know, have the lighthouse, of course, Presque Isle, and now helping us, you know, manage this lighthouse here. But, you know, still fully in operation, and it's another tourist attraction on the east side, and we're pretty, you know, thankful to have that partnership. So that's been pretty nice from that perspective. And I hate to switch to the tourism side, but, you know, we're talking about the east side, and I have to talk about the Erie Coke site. You know,
see, you're doing such a good job. I scratched off 4 of my questions already.
Well, hey, you know,
Thank you.
I'm studying for you there. I want to make sure, you know, I know your style. I want to make sure I'm helping you out there.
You're doing an excellent job. Thank you.
Thank you. I mean, we talk about, you know, the Lampe district. We talk about the lighthouse, but in the center of that is Erie Coke, and you know, that was part of our master plan. It's always been something we've wanted to, you know, really secure, I guess is the best way to say it. We wanted to, you know, with our, think about it, it's from an eminent domain, you know, perspective, and just it's kind of in the center of everything we have going on there, you know, on the east side, and we want to make sure it's protected, and we're able to really clean that up and remediate that site. And for us, it was a no-brainer, is the best way I can say it, to partner with the Erie County Redevelopment Authority and with Tina Mengine and her team. I mean, they've cleaned up the Quinn T site. You know, they're working on that. EMI, you know, with the good work at Savacchio Park. It was just, for us, you know, we're far from experts, but how do we work with someone that's had that experience? And so we're lucky to have the Erie County Redevelopment Authority here to partner with them and, you know, really figure out what our next steps are. The good thing for us is, you know, the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection, PADEP, is still there with the testing and the sampling. So they're still doing, you know, their work on the site, and then eventually we'll have, you know, some type of answers as to really what we're dealing with over there, and then, you know, begin that remediation stage. But Tom, all the time we're asked, what are you going to do? What are you going to build?
Yeah.
We don't know yet.
Yeah.
We're so far away from that, you know, honestly. I mean, but Tom, the one thing I guarantee to everyone is the public involvement in the process. And that's one thing I've learned, obviously, a lot in my time in public service is you have to have the public involved and all that, especially there's just all different types of feedback and just general information. But for us, we have on our website, porterie.org, right on our landing page there. Once you click on that link, it takes you right to the Redevelopment Authority and their page, which leads to DEP's page, and of course EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, from the federal side. But we're all working together to make sure, again, that site is secured. So folks, we have the signs posted for no trespassing to keep everybody safe. I mean, why that property is being tested and monitored. We want to make sure everyone is kept safe as well. But the one thing I do promise is the public will be involved in that process, and as we figure out what our next steps are, once this testing is complete and we know what we're working with.
I grew up in Western New York, so I lived through the Love Canal problem, and Jean was just on the program, and she was talking about all the efforts that you folks are gathered together to take on that huge project. It's beyond belief what you have to do. But I also got a good feeling from Tina that you've grabbed the bull by the horns, and this is just not going to sit there, that you folks are working diligently to make Erie a better place, so to speak. And that's exactly what you're doing by taking care of that property.
Absolutely. And with that, Tom, as I'm sure Tina mentioned, comes such a steep price tag. I mean, so what do you think it's going to take? We don't know yet. I mean, could it be 20 million, 75 million? I mean, it's really hard to say until we really figure out what we're working with. But with Tina's team and their background, and Anna and I and our background from this perspective, we have a pretty much a solid track record of securing those funds on both the federal level and the state level. And we have quite a few grants that are out there right now in various different applications, hoping those dollars will start really coming in, so that again we can properly clean up that site. So really excited and lucky to work with the Redevelopment Authority to have that partnership. But we're the proud owners, as Tina said, since May 15th of this year. And for us, it's all about just, again, keeping the site safe and secure, and making sure that testing is done, of which the DEP is doing now. And once they complete it, we'll know our next steps.
One of the most fascinating things, I think, that is on the Bayfront is we build ships here. Could you talk about Don John Shipbuilding and also repair? And it's always fascinating to look over there from Presque Isle and see something different. Could you go over that for us, please?
Absolutely. I mean, we're lucky to have Don John Shipbuilding, and actually, I'm talking to you, looking at them right outside my window here. Mm-hmm. I mean, as you said, they build ships, but they also, they have that repair, program where in the wintertime, they're pretty busy over here. We're the boats you'll see are docked here at our slip, the Holland slip, the Parade slip, just of course east of ours here. And we're lucky to have them here because, of course, they're good quality, good paying jobs that we have. Mm-hmm. But also, it's kind of fun to see, a lot of families, again, coming down here, taking pictures, like, oh wow, look at that, being kind of up close and personal with ships that they have not seen before, and it's kind of very nice from that perspective. But for us, it's we actually applied for a grant from the federal government, the Port Infrastructure Development Program funding, to expand this Parade Street slip here, just east of our slip, to help Don John, help Carmeuse, but to help Don John as well, because the slip is so narrow. When those large vessels are coming in, during that winter season, it's very tight. To fit two vessels there, and their business is continuing to expand because of the quality of their work. And we want to find ways that we can help them. So that's a special project for us, as we're hoping to expand. Hopefully we'll be so lucky to receive, the funding. We're looking for a nice, substantial grant of $11.25 million from the federal government, with a match here from PennDOT for $6.75 million to expand that slip and provide them with an opportunity to increase their business. And I think that's, so key for us. Because, again, whether it's, the shipbuilding, they do the barge construction, the vessel conversion they'll do over there, repowering, the repair, everything that they do is so key to help these vessels that, you see just, all throughout, the Great Lakes and heading to wherever they're going, but also those good jobs that we have here. And we were happy to partner with them to acquire, this dry dock. And it's pretty cool because it's 1,250 feet altogether, and it's longer than 4 football fields, is the way to say it. So
it's fascinating to see. I asked if they did tours, and it's not something that you can safely bring a lot of people through, but I don't know if it's ever possible, but at least to get more photos on your website relative to what's there. Outrageous number of production square footage, 44 acres.
Oh.
This is
Yes.
huge. Yes.
Yeah, 44 acres, more than 200,000 square feet of production area. It's huge, and that dry dock. The reason I talk about that is, I mean, it's only one of two on the Great Lakes that are capable of dry docking those large vessels. Those 1,000-foot, self-unloading large Great Lakes vessels. So one of two. So that really helps put us on the map from that perspective. But that dry dock is in use quite a bit for that purpose, to really have that chance to, as they say, get deep down and really understand, the issue and repair the vessel when they're coming in. So we were pretty proud to partner with them to provide them with that opportunity to have that dry dock.
Let's talk about something that's been around for over 130 years, the Erie Sand and Gravel Facility, which is now Carmoose, as you said it. Did I say it correctly?
Carmoose, yes.
Okay. All right. And talk about that. That looks like an outstanding industrial operation. How does that work?
Absolutely. I mean, the cool thing about them is their business obviously has grown, and they're always looking for an opportunity to expand here. From that perspective. So it's interesting from. People say, well, what exactly are they doing with all of that? I mean, they see the trucks coming in and out, and once they do, obviously they're bringing in the aggregate. I mean, it's anything from limestone, mineral-based products. Bringing it in. Once it does come in, and then you see all the various different trucks heading out to whichever location, wherever they're going to drop off the product that is sold. So it comes in, obviously here, the vessels will bring it in, and then they store it, and then of course, the trucks, leaving here from the terminal. So, to have a true terminal operator like, Carmeuse, that provides that opportunity of course, those good quality jobs, but also, as they say, we're in a perfect spot. It was 79 and 90 here, so when those trucks are coming in and hauling everything out, it's very quick for them to get back on the road and again, quickly and safely to their destination. So we're lucky to have them in their partnership, and as I mentioned, the expansion, because we do have some room for expansion there that we're working on right now, where we could hopefully work with them as we refresh this master plan and figure out how we can help and continue, help their growth. Especially, from that large crane and from the crane perspective of, unloading some of these larger vessels that need additional assistance and what have you. So lucky to have them as our true operational port. We might not have the container ships that are coming in or what have you, but again, if we can provide an opportunity for the expansion there, we can provide an opportunity for their business to grow and hopefully bring in other different aspects of the shipping industry coming here to Erie County.
I was reading that over the years with all the construction, there's not a complete shortage, but somewhat of a shortage of concrete, and I noticed they still have the Lake Erie sourced sand, calcium, dolomite, limestone aggregates. They're huge, a huge resource for the construction business. It's great that they're here, and when you think about where we are, and I'm preaching to the choir, I have to tell you, we're in a wonderful spot in this part of the world, being available not only to Pennsylvania going south and east, but Ohio and New York State the other way. Do you folks ever do any studies about cross-state commerce relative to the port? Forgive me if I've asked.
There hasn't one done in the past, and it's something we're hoping to do here as we refresh this master plan and go into additional steps. Because you're right. From that perspective, but then also from the Great Lakes perspective. I mean, we belong to the American Great Lakes Port Association, and we're constantly in conversation with those other ports along the Great Lakes. Yes, we're unique, here from our perspective of combining that tourism side and that industrial side, but still, I mean, it's good to like I said, conduct those studies and really have those conversations to see how we can all help each other out. Really.
You're a mind reader again, because that was my next question. How do you associate? I feel honored that you're so knowledgeable and you have a good 360 on your job. How does this work with the other ports? Is just a meeting? Do you discuss needs, wants, financial things, maybe all of the above? How often do you meet, and what value does that have for you?
All of the above, to be quite honest with you. I mean, and for us, they usually meet 2 times a year. I just missed this last meeting here with everything we have going on at the moment. Was unable to head there. They had a meeting in Chicago just a couple weeks ago. But for us, I mean, one thing that we really strive is singing with one voice. And we were in D.C. earlier this year, all of the Great Lakes ports, to really, lobby and rally there in the Capitol for that port infrastructure development money. We feel the Great Lakes have not received its fair share, because when you're competing with the East Coast and the West Coast, we're different, right? We're unique from the Erie port perspective, but also, the Great Lakes are different because we don't have those large containers that are coming in and out as significant as others do. But for us, we always say from the Great Lakes, what comes in and out of our ports, stays here. It leads to jobs and leads to more of an opportunity, especially whatever's coming in, continuing down the supply chain. So we like to stress that. But we like to sing with one voice and really advocate. When one wins, we all win, is the way we look at it from that perspective. So we spent time not only for us, lobbying lobbying our local legislators, from Congressman Kelly to Senator Casey to Senator Fetterman, but we had the chance to sit down with those across the Great Lakes and really, and others in decision-making positions to really lobby them and make sure they understand why we could use these dollars. So the port infrastructure development money has not been committed yet. We're hearing we will know more here in the next month or so. So we're very excited that, to see how the Great Lakes fares after our lobbying venture in D.C. early this year. But, of course, I'm so excited to see what happens from our perspective. Was so lucky to work with a great team, in my opinion, to submit a very, very much so solid application to hopefully bring some more dollars back here to Erie.
How often does your team meet? What type of meetings do you have?
For our American Great Lakes Port Association?
Sure. Well, let's talk about just your team here. How often do you get together?
Our team here? Yeah. Our team here meets weekly with our board. And mentioning, again, those 11 board members that we have. Our board meets, the board meets twice a month, but our team here in our office, we always meet weekly, and as issues come up or different concerns come up, we can always meet daily or what have you. But with our board coming in, we have when they come in on the Wednesdays, what we do twice a month is we have a committee meeting, and then we either have a study session or a full board meeting. Everything always open to the public from that perspective, but really having taking a time to whatever matters that we have to address, especially from the public authority perspective. If we're awarding a bid, or what have you, we like to do a deep dive prior to even posting that and going through each process. So we like to really have a full discussion on any decisions we're going to make upcoming and go from there. So it's kind of nice, from that perspective, to have this active board of community leaders that's there to really, help us and really lead this Bayfront, moving forward. Has always been our goal, but to really continue doing that. So for us, again, to have a strong board, we're lucky that we have some folks that are retired in their careers, of course, but others that are still leaders in the community that, to me, this can be a full-time job at times. So we're so thankful that they've taken the time to, stay on the board and really, help us every step of the way. So, for our meetings, though, it's always, people say, well, what is it exactly? It varies. I'm like, well, yeah, we shoot for the second, and then usually the last third or Wednesday of the month. So it depends on how the calendar it lands, but yeah, it's usually the second week, and then in between. So every other week is pretty much how it lands. Like our next meeting will be next Wednesday, August 28th, and we have a committee meeting at 11 a.m. and then we go into our regular board meeting at noon, and taking whatever necessary steps we need to take there. But it's always nice to have those conversations. And, we, of course, welcome public comments at our meeting and receive feedback on just thoughts on improving the Bayfront, and we appreciate that.
Let's say somebody wanted to chat with you folks about your meeting, say the press or the media. How do they find you?
They can find us by giving us a call. It's 814-455-7557. Joanna, our administrator, she's always right there by the phone. If she's not there, she's gives a call back after a message is left. Or you can reach me directly at jslomski@porterie.org. and I'm happy to have any conversation and provide any updates of everything that we're working on. And as we're talking here, Tom, I want to make sure I'd be remiss if I didn't continue talking about our partnerships. Mm-hmm. And we're for us. For us with our board and our team, it's a big thing to have these partnerships because, there's silos as we all know, but to us, if someone's doing something so well, let's find a way to partner together. And that's why we have the Redevelopment Authority as our partner for Erie Coke, but also why we have the Erie County Convention Center Authority, Erie Events, as our partner for events. Mm-hmm. So working with them with 8 Great Tuesdays. We just wrapped up our 7th 8 Great Tuesday last night, and we're lucky to have their expertise from even the production side, the operations side, the planning side, every aspect of it. So it's been a great partnership for us, and we look forward to continuing that as well. So that's something new for us here, in this past year is to create that partnership with Erie Events, to create that partnership, with the Erie County Redevelopment Authority. But again, how do we work together and move the overall needle forward for Erie County? And that's been our ultimate goal.
Julie, your energy is inspiring. I'm so glad you're there. I wish I had half of the energy that you exhibit, and I can tell that you are on top of all the different nuances and corners and the things you do. You're right on top of everything. Well, in the next few years, what's up? Or is it, let's get this done and measure how we perform, or are there some plans for the future?
Right, good question. I mean, with the Bayfront Parkway expansion project, again, we're lucky to be, here with PennDOT. I guess I always say as their number one cheerleader here because we're so excited for that project. But we want to find out what can we do, from our perspective, how we can continue to develop. I mean, one thing people ask me all the time: what are you going to do with that former McAllister space? Right there on East Dobbins Landing, right in the shadows of the Bicentennial Tower, and that's something that we do. We have to figure out what are we going to do with that space. And Tom, as we refresh this master plan, and we've had some changes on our board, and as we have this new board, as I referred to it, we want to really see what are we thinking? What would work best? Making sure we have the public involved as well, and really thinking what does Erie need there? One thing that we're hearing is the marine services side. Folks need more. Hey, I need to get my boat repaired, or I need this or that. I mean, we're lucky to have lakeshore towing, but even they said there's a need. So we're trying to work from that perspective. So how do we help out there? Again, how do we help our boaters out? I mean, there's so many different aspects, but for us, it's about refreshing that master plan to really see what we've accomplished and what else we can do here. But again, whether it is McAllister, of course, Erie Coke, there's so many different options here to how do we find different ways to move forward. I mean, after all, we're going to have that pedestrian bridge. Once the Parkway expansion project is completed, we'll have that pedestrian bridge here at Holland, helping us, create that destination and allow. It's easier for folks to come and take their afternoon, walk. I love seeing, community members, especially folks that work over here at UPMC Hammett, just, taking a quick lunch break and walking around. We got to provide that safe connection.
Well, I'm enthused just listening to you, so I suggest everyone go to porterie.org. If you already gave your number, I'm really thrilled that you took the time to visit with us today. We appreciate it, and we'll give you a call in a few months and see what else is going on. Thank you very, very much for being with us today.
Thank you, Tom. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Welcome to We Question and Learn. This is Tom Pies. We're celebrating our 20th year on the air here at WQLN NPR. You can find us on the air first Sunday of the month at 4 or online at about a dozen or so podcast venues, actually a few more, and of course on WQLN.org's website and NPR One. I have a very special guest, Doctor Ferdinando Mirarchi. He's a doctor of osteopathic medicine, and welcome to the program.
Well, thank you, Tom, and thank you for having me.
I'm glad you're here. You're the Chief Executive Officer and Chief Medical Officer of the US Acute Care Solutions, Mideo, LLC. So let's start with that. Can you outline that company, please?
Sure. So let me even take a step back. So in my prior life before USACS Mideo, I was the medical director, essentially oversaw the entire northern tier of emergency services for UPMC. So I'm very entrenched in the community, lots of resources and connections to the community, provided a lot of care over the years, and saw it all develop from what Hammett was back when I started in 2001 to, when I left in 2022 to some degree. I then went over to US Acute Care Solutions because I developed some technology from some emergency medicine research that I did in patient safety involving advanced directives and living wills. And I wanted to really bring that to market and get that out there to the nation as far as it being a safeguard for patients to have a voice in their care and a say in their care. So I partnered with US Acute Care Solutions Corporate. They are the largest acute care physician practice in the nation. They staff over 500 emergency departments across the country, 500 hospitalist programs across the country. And it was a group that was led by physicians and really just wanted to do right by patients. So it was a natural fit with the technology called Mideo that we're talking about here today and advanced care planning to bring it into their practice.
So you are also the chair, I believe, of the National Palliative Care Committee for the USACS?
That is correct. I'm the chair of the National Palliative Care Committee. So, we drive palliative resources and advanced care planning resources across the nation. And again, in a prior life, I was a medical ethics physician within UPMC and essentially oversaw medical ethics at UPMC Hammett for, say 17 years or so.
So all this time, you've been working on your own patients as well? Is that true?
Yep, absolutely.
You're holding down 3 jobs.
Yeah, I got a bunch of different hats, I guess. But fortunately, right now, my emergency medicine career is coming to an end to a degree, and just morphing in advanced care planning and even some palliative work. So it's a natural progression, but it's still pretty rewarding. I get to see patients of all walks of life, of all walks of illness, and I get to do what I want to do, which is provide good medical care.
I see some terms. If I was to read your resume, I would be asking you a dozen questions what all these terms mean. But I saw a term in your outline that was living will. How does this all interface with your whole program?
Yeah, so it's funny, you learn from your mistakes. And back when I was an intern, I was a pretty young, aggressive intern. It was a time when medical interns really were very independent in providing care inside hospital systems and so on. And I made a mistake. I was taking care of a 55-year-old lady. She was having a heart attack. She was in the ICU, and she went into cardiac arrest. And I had to run over and shock her and save her life. And as I was doing that, I was running to the bedside to save her life. I was confronted with a nurse holding a form up in front of me, screaming, "No, don't shock her. She's a DNR. She's a DNR." Mm. And I was paralyzed. And that's what ends up happening in research that we found out. You get decision paralysis. And I was paralyzed, and this lady's dying in front of me, right? And I had a cardiologist, a great guy, who literally just happened to be walking through the ICU. He literally pushed me aside, took the old-fashioned paddle, shocked her chest. She woke up talking to us. We treated her with a clot buster, and she went home in a few days.
These are like movies that you see on television. These are real-life scenarios for a lot of people.
Oh, this is a very common occurrence, and it's not very much talked about across the nation. And there's reasons for that. We want people to have living wills. We want them to. It's a tool. It's an advanced directive. It's a tool to actually have some degree of a say in your care. But it is not as safe as we thought it was when it came about. We thought it would be very understood. We thought, it wouldn't cause issues related to patient care. But the reality of it is that today, especially today, right, because no doctor comes to the hospital anymore that takes care of you in the office just about. And essentially you're treated by medical strangers. And you get treated by a medical stranger such as myself. I don't know you, but in seconds I got to make life or death decisions for you, where I have to make decisions to put you in an ICU or somewhere else. And that decision is often impacted by the term living will, a thought that a living will could be a DNR order or a do not resuscitate order. And it has real implications. It causes a lot of decision paralysis, or it causes a lot of guessing in your medical care that I don't believe patients today are aware that is what happens today.
So you have a piece of paper and you're trying to direct all those around you in case something happens. Yet the paper, if I'm hearing this correctly, is not really letting the person who's at your bedside know exactly what you really want, or it may interfere with, for example, in your case, letting a person live another 10 or 20 years.
Yeah, so that is exactly the case. And what we describe in medicine is called over-resuscitation, right? We provided way too much care, or under-resuscitation, in which we provided not enough care to save somebody's life. And in instances, we tell end-of-life patients that living wills will keep them safe, but we know that it results in over-aggressive treatment. And then in patients that are in wellness or have some degree of illness that still want aggressive care and treatment, we don't really tell you that living will is actually going to cause you not to get the type of care you want to survive. And that's a problem. Like, we have to do better. We have to do better as a medical society. We have to do better as a country. We have to do better with tools and give patients and doctors the tools to make sure that a patient can say what they want, and that doctor or medical team could really understand what they want and not just guess what they want.
And if you're brought in off the street out of a horrible accident, how does anyone have time to read 10 pages of paperwork to understand what your situation is?
That's exactly correct. Most of what exists today as far as living wills and advance directives are not very transportable, right? They're paper-based documents. They, reside somewhere in a file. Someone would have to think about grabbing it and bringing it to the hospital. And then when you actually bring it to the hospital, it actually causes medical errors in your care that can hurt you. So the whole process needs a transformation of what patients need and how to keep them safe. I mean, this all started back in the 70s. There was something called a do not resuscitate order that was created to allow cancer patients to die when they went into cardiac arrest without doing CPR on them. And when I say CPR, I mean chest compressions. I don't mean other facets of medical care, but that was the original intention. And then we developed a living will, and the living will was created to essentially be a document to deny life-saving care when you were terminally ill. That form then morphed into something, that could accept or decline life-saving care, but requires a physician to read it and interpret it and make the next best step for you. And then, later after that, we developed these things called these medical orders, right? They're called physician's orders for life-sustaining treatment. In Pennsylvania, they're called Pennsylvania orders for life-sustaining treatment. And they all fall under the same misunderstanding that it started with DNR. So people just thought, DNR, the living will is just another way to do a DNR. The post form is just another way to do a DNR. So we have to break that cycle, and we have to break it quick because patients are being impacted by it across the country. Not even across the country, just across the world, actually. When we did a study back with Medscape, it was a very large international study, and we found that this isn't just in the United States. This is a global patient safety risk to patients.
Sounds like there needs to be some universal structure to help the person at the time of need. On the other hand, all people are different. Their medical situations, everything they are as a human being, family, everyone that's involved in a person's life. I can't imagine how you're going to create a superstructure, so to speak, that can manage all that when someone gets wheeled into the emergency room. I'm not sure.
Absolutely. And if in theory, if this were nationalized, right,
Mm-hmm.
and have one definition, it'd still be a matter of education and getting everyone up to speed. And honestly, patients don't have time. They don't have time because this risk affects them daily. It affects your mom daily, your father daily, your grandparents daily, you yourself daily, your kids daily. I mean, there was a time when the expectation was we will provide care, save your life, ask questions later. Well, now we get sued for that. We get sued for saving your life in something called wrongful prolongation of life. So it's gotten to be such a mess that we really need tools to really, kind of pause the process, so to speak, for a second, regroup, get informed, provide the right level of care. And that would be a great lead into what we do in our medical practice at Mideo Health and with Mideo. There was a body of research that we put together called the Triad Research, which I'm happy to say has never taken a penny from any entity, as far as funding. So no one could ever scrub our research. Our research is true, it's raw, it's exactly what it was, and we published it as such. And we've shown over 13 times across the nation that these things are not understood, patients are at risk, and we got to do better. And at the same time, we also built a solution. We tested solutions in research in what we call evidence-based and produced something called an evidence-based tool, which is prescribed video. And that's what we turned Mideo, or that's where Mideo was birthed from. Mideo is my informed decision on video.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a way to take prescribed video after you get seen by a medical physician or get education, and then essentially craft language that then speaks to that next medical team member in a way they understand. Because living wills aren't understood, right? They're legal mumbo jumbo. And that's one of the gripes of living wills over the years, that doctors don't understand the legal mumbo jumbo. Well, now we've made a way that doctors can actually understand what a patient wants in their terms and mindset, and then know how to act to provide the initial aspects of care. And that means providing aggressive care to save your life, or that means providing, care towards allowing a natural dying process to keep you comfortable. But the one thing is for sure is we need a stopgap measure here. We need a safeguard measure here for patients. And today our program with Mideo is the only program in the nation that'll actually do that for you.
So people understand this correctly. Mideo stands for My Informed Decision on Video. So
Correct.
Doesn't that involve some technology? How do you manage that?
Yeah, so and it's funny, when people ask us about the tech that we built and everything, we made it very user-friendly and very age-appropriate. We have do-it-yourself processes for the young and healthy population that are very tech-savvy. And then we have facilitated approaches, meaning we guide patients through every step of the program with concierges in our office and coordinators in our office that do this in person or through telemedicine, and take them every step of the way to the medical evaluation. And then after our medical evaluation, you then go through the process of recording your prescribed video, which is very important because any video is not the same as prescribed video. Prescribed video is very accurate to get what you want. Generic video or a selfie type video that is non-specific can be very damaging and very dangerous, just as a paper-based document can be very damaging and very dangerous.
We're talking with Dr. Ferdinando Mirarchi, doctor of osteopathic medicine, and his program is the US Acute Care Solutions Group. His is entitled USACS Mideo LLC. How long have you been doing this, once again, just so folks understand how much time has been put into the program?
Oh, so the research was over 20-some years.
Okay.
And then as far as bringing it into clinical practice, I started bringing it into clinical practice in the Erie, Pennsylvania community around 2016. Mm-hmm. And then around 2017, we had the approval of what's called advanced care planning codes, and, to be able to be reimbursed by Medicare. And that was kind of around the time that everyone was talking death panels and paying for you to die with Medicare monies. And that's not what it's really about. There are programs that do it that way, but we are not one of those programs. We are not traditional in how we approach patients. And then after 2017 or so, we built the practice, we built the technology, and really started to take it somewhere around 2020. And then in 2022, we then came into US Acute Care Solutions.
Now, this is not just, as you alluded to before, a local organization. Could you describe the size and reach of your group?
Oh, sure. So, USACS itself is the largest acute care practice in the nation. It has literally 10 million annual visits across the country. It is $2 billion in physician revenues as far as patient care revenues and so on. And with respect to Mideo itself and why we actually went towards that group, we have patients in 43 states and 6 countries. So I needed a physician practice that was global and national, or national and hopefully global, to be able to facilitate the manpower needs and the educational needs to train all these providers to provide this level of care. Again, we don't do it traditionally. We are the non-traditional approach. Many people who do advanced care planning just want to talk to you about death, just want to discourage CPR treatment. They just want you to get DNR orders and advance directives. We do it in a very wholesome approach. We see people in wellness. We see people in early illness. We see people in serious illness, and we see people at the end of life. And the goal of our program is to stay in touch with you, to be your voice, your advocate, and help you transition through all those different phases of life. Because again, the system's broken. You don't have people who know you anymore when you go in the healthcare system, in the hospital. And we got to bring that personalized care back, because you mentioned it yourself. Everyone's not the same. You know, my mother may want to live to see my 4-year-old graduate kindergarten, you know, and she should have that opportunity if that's what she wants. You know, you may not want that opportunity. You may want to allow a natural dying process prior to whatever event is occurring in your life just because you're comfortable. Patients need to have that ability to do that. And today they don't, because of what exists with the process, what exists with the paper-based documents. And again, this is why I say we really need a call to action here as far as a safeguard measure here. And we really believe Mideo to be that first safeguard to make sure that we keep patients safe, keep providers safe. And that way it's a win-win for everyone involved. It's a win for the patient, a win for the provider, a win for the hospital, a win for the insurance plan.
Your plan, or it could be your struggle, is to be able to approach doctors and people at the same time with one good idea. How is that going, sincerely?
Yeah, so it's going. It's not an easy process, but we are making headway and we are making national gains. And you know, we have contracts happening in Pennsylvania with hospitals, like here in Erie, we have AHN St. Vincent's that refers us patients. You know, in Maryland, we have a number of different healthcare systems referring us patients. In Florida, we have physicians. We have people in North Carolina, and then again, we have patients that have found us in 43 different states as well as 6 countries. So it's getting there. The big call to action, though, is people have to realize that what they have done is not enough. They're told it's enough. They're told when you go see an attorney and get your estate plan done and have your living will done that you've done your job. No, you haven't. You just started. We need to take that extra step to make sure that you see a physician who's trained to have this conversation in advanced care planning. And then we need to make sure that your documents don't get misinterpreted. We want to make sure that those documents are in a safe place. We want to make sure that your voice is seen and that you're seen, heard, as well as understood to that next medical team member. Because again, it's your safety, it's your family's safety. And in the end, these are really life or death decisions that we need to make you aware that you have to do a little bit more planning, just a little bit more planning to keep you and your family safe.
Recently, I saw an ad on TV, and being an old insurance guy and working in the medical industry, it struck me funny because the ad showed a doctor speaking directly with the patient and then a transcriptionist who was a medical person taking all the notes. And I said, whoa, wait a minute. Isn't that what was supposed to be going on right along? You know, this face-to-face care, interpretation of what the patient is saying. You mentioned it before, and I said, well, what happens when you get a doctor or a medical person? Not that a nurse practitioner is not qualified to do good work, but how does this work? How does this physically work when a person's in a predicament?
Yeah, so there are so many people trying to throw information at you in a medical crisis. Right? So many. I mean, I can't tell you, back when I had my own mistake, you know, I had a nurse flashing a form in front of me, you know, and you know, the provider themselves is the captain of the ship. The physician themselves is the captain of the ship. And that individual, boy or girl, needs to take control of the situation and control the flow of information so that they can make an independent decision for the patient. It's not a group decision. You know, when you have 50 people or, you know, 10 or 20 people in a room in a medical crisis or a trauma, someone has to take the lead to collate the information and provide care that's directed to the patient. Not what everybody else wants, but what the patient is supposed to want and get.
It's almost like you have to have all the information either around your neck in a pendant or embedded in you somewhere as a device.
Yeah, that's a great point. You know, we utilize ID cards today, you know, with our Mideo ID cards. And, you know, we do that because everybody's so used to carrying an insurance card and driver's license. And in the state of Maryland, we're hoping to get on the driver's license within the next year or so. But again, everyone is going to be different. The population was aging, so there's an aging population that is comfortable with ID cards and pendants. There's a younger population that wants everything on their phone. So it really needs to be multi-approached or a multi-pronged approach to make sure that you cover all the different facets that are needed to make sure the information is available. So for example, when we see patients, you know, we have a typical process. We have a fulfillment program that essentially goes through and makes sure everything's correct. and does a list of things to do to make sure that you get information and it's communicated correctly. So we have a team that essentially will take your ID cards, they'll print 2 ID cards, and we give one to a patient, one to their appointed agent. We then give our patients a Mideo magnet for their refrigerator that has their information on it, so that when the EMS providers show up on scene in a crisis, we train them to look on the sides of refrigerators for advanced directives and living wills. Mm-hmm. So we hit that button there. And then in addition to that, there's a lot of care coordination that has to occur. There has to be coordination with your primary care doctor. There has to be coordination between the hospital medical records department. There has to be coordination between your estate planning attorney or your elder law attorney to make sure everybody's got the information and are on the same page. Today, what happens? You print a form off the internet, great. You signed it, great. What happens next? Same thing with an attorney. You go see your attorney, you have your estate plan done, and you get your living will done, but great, what happens next? You know, I mean, you need to have all these different touch points in place to make sure that information is transportable, it's available, most importantly, that it's accurately and not going to put you in harm's way.
Sounds like you've done a lot of homework. Now, how many people use this system?
So we don't really publish that number anymore. We go by states.
By states, okay. Mm-hmm.
And soon we're hopefully going to have patients in all 50 states, in addition to multiple countries, in addition to the 6 we have. I mean, we have patents here in the United States. We have patents internationally as well. So this is a program that we're looking to make become the new standard. And whether it's done in conjunction with an attorney or done in conjunction with a primary care physician, we have those types of relationships. We just need to make sure patients are aware that they have this option to do it now. And even if they don't come to us, they have this option to do this, to go see their doctor, and their insurance will actually pay for them to actually get seen, to have an advanced care planning session. I mean, the beauty of our program with Mideo Health is that we designed it in a way that's it's a medical practice, so that Medicare reimburses for it and that insurance entities cover it. So we have patients that come to us essentially for no out-of-pocket expense or for minimally a copay.
Forgive me, on the technical side, I have to ask a technical question. Who collates all the video, the archive? I'm guessing there's servers that are involved. How do you protect privacy? On the technical side, how does this physically work?
Yeah, so our ID cards are set up in a way from the intro part so that anyone with any kind of a smartphone can take out their camera in their smartphone, scan a QR code on the ID card, and pull up their Mideo message or their documents. Okay? All that video and then all that paper-based documentation, when it gets digitized, has to be managed, and it has to be managed securely. So there are standards that say how you build that infrastructure, but we go above and beyond all of those standards to make sure that the things that we take from you are secure. The things that we send out on your behalf are secure. We make sure that we put protections in there for AI, right? That's the biggest fear today, that AI is going to take over everything, and essentially a lot of fraud's going to occur. So that's why we make sure that our fulfillment teams are trained in a way and our processes are built in a way to essentially protect against AI. Not that we don't want to use AI, because there's AI that can be utilized to help, but we also need to make sure that people aren't doing things wrong with AR to, again, do things that are fraudulent to you.
Dr. Ferdinando Mirarchi, this is so fascinating. I'm going to offer an invitation to come back, and maybe we can talk about a couple of things in detail. Unfortunately, time runs out. But before it runs out completely, how do people get in touch with this system? Who do they get in touch with? Let's say someone has become very interested after hearing your statements. How do they get involved?
Well, they can do one of a couple of things. One, everybody knows how to Google today, just about. So you can literally just Google Mideo or Mideo Health, and it'll bring you to our websites. For the more tech-savvy people, there's a Mideo card app in the Google Play Store and in the App Store. We also have those old-fashioned landline systems, right? We have a phone number. So if people call 844-MIDEO for you, they'll get a hold of us. But again, the most important thing for people to do is to really just stop, think for a second, and realize that you need to do a tiny bit more. So take the time to search it out. Take the time to search out Mideo. Take the time to search out Mideo Health, and we're happy to take care of anybody.
Okay, being a radio guy, this may be a biting question. What if I just want to do audio? What if I don't like being on camera? I know that sounds silly, but I know a lot of people shun cameras in any way, shape, or form. Is there another way to do this, just with audio?
There are programs that just do audio, but again, we built ours for audio and visual because we want people seen, heard, and understood.
Yeah, plus it's a good ID factor, too.
Absolutely. Especially in the days of AI today, it's definitely an additional identification factor. Not to mention, what we've done with Mideo is very useful to families. So they're able to see mom or dad or their loved one actually speaking to them and the medical teams, noting the inflections in their voices, their body language, their tone, so that they can feel comfortable they're making the right decision for them rather than that guilt-ridden decision and making the wrong decision.
This is so fascinating. It's heart-rending, but it's also a very important thing to do. You've been doing this for a long time. You're a national organization, so to speak. If people would like, again, more information, is there a website to go to, please?
Yeah, they can go to MideoHealth.com, and they will get a bevy of information as far as Mideo, what it does, and how to get a hold of us.
Yeah, I can see all the states. I can see the information, all the updates, the news, the articles. This is well done. US Acute Care Solutions is the website, and I think that's USACS.com, and it has more information. I think you have to sit down with it for about a half an hour and really absorb all the information that is on the screen at that site. And a hearty thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to speak with us. We're very grateful.
Well, thank you. And again, I'd be happy to come back and talk on any number of topics for you.
Would love to have you do that. Thank you again.
Thank you.